At one point, Stephon Marbury was a rising star in the NBA. By the young age of 21, Marbury was already averaging over 20 points and 8 assists per game, a feat that only a handful of other players have ever accomplished. He was a star at such a young age, and with the way he played, it looked like he could become an all-time great. Over the years, Marbury eventually developed into an all-star, but for the next 10 years, his game didn't really improve that much. By the time he joined the New York Knicks in 2004, he was expected to bring them back into the playoff conversation. But unfortunately, it did not work out for the Brooklyn prodigy. His time in New York was filled with clashes with his coach Larry Brown, conflicts with his teammates, and a ton of losses. Everything went as bad as it possibly could have went. Coach Brown publicly said that, "I don't know why you play a team sport if you're not concerned with making your teammates better and helping your team win games." This was directed at Marbury because at the time, everyone knew he was extremely talented, but he just didn't understand what he needed to do to win. His game was described as being very selfish, at times shooting the ball way too much just to get his points or trying to stat pad his assists. By 2008, after spending 12 seasons in the NBA, he only made the playoffs 4 different times and lost in the first round every single time. He spent his last season in the NBA playing very little minutes for the Boston Celtics, before quietly leaving the NBA at the age of 32. How's it going, fellas? My name's Andy, and today we're going to talk about how Stephon Marbury overcame his shortcomings to become a basketball legend in China. But before we start, I'd like to give a shout out to my sponsor, SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an app that aggregates ticket prices from all over the web to help you find the best deals for games, concerts, Broadway shows, and other events. The prices marked in green are good, while the ones in red are bad. I've used the app to buy tickets before, and the process was very smooth. The app is very easy to use, and you can also see the view from your seats before you buy your tickets, which is my favorite feature. Use my promo code ANDY at checkout to get $20 off your first order. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. Alright, let's get started. As part of the 1996 draft class, Marbury had his highs and lows, and did not live up to the same standards as the others. Shortly after his last NBA season, Marbury also fell into a deep depression and had suicidal thoughts. He said, "When everything went on with the Knicks and, my father passed on, the Starbury brand was basically losing life slowly, and I was watching it, and I think that was hurting me more than seeing my basketball career going in the direction that it was going. I was trapped in my thoughts. I was trapped in how I felt about how I felt I was treated. I was trapped with decisions I made. I wanted to die. I wanted to kill myself some days. I did. It wasn't about basketball. It started to become about me, because I was that depressed and I was that sick." At one point, he was even live streaming himself eating Vaseline. However, Marbury got himself together and decided that he wanted to do something else. Although his NBA career was over, he still wanted to prove that he could play. He wanted to continue playing professional basketball, and that's when he made his way to China. But unlike most other players who play overseas just for a paycheck, he played for himself. He played to redeem himself from his past failures, and wanted to leave a mark in China, which he did. By January of 2010, he joined the Shanxi Brave Dragons of the Chinese Basketball Association. Marbury instantly made an impact on the team, averaging about 23 points and 9 assists, as he got selected to be an all-star, but he couldn't lead the team to the playoffs. Regardless, when he was playing in Shanxi, everyone showed him love. He stated, "Being able to be someplace where they showed nothing but love to you, it's the best feeling in the world. You're going somewhere where people want to be around you, they want to understand you, they take the time to understand you, it's new, it's a brand new start." This was only the beginning of Marbury's journey. By 2011, he found himself on the Beijing Ducks, a team that's been around since 1995, but they never had any success. That is, until Marbury arrived. From 2012 to 2015, Marbury led the Ducks to 3 championships in 4 years. Reaching the CBA playoffs for the first time, Marbury finally proved that he was a winner, and along with teammate Randolph Morris, they would dominate the playoffs. In the semifinals against his former team, Marbury averaged 45 points a game in the series, including 2 back-to-back games where he scored over 50 points. Then in the finals, going up against the Guangdong Southern Tigers led by former NBA player Aaron Brooks, Marbury led them to a 4-1 series victory, capping off Game 5 with 41 points. The Beijing Ducks won their first ever CBA championship. And afterwards, Marbury got a lot of calls from the NBA. Now, a lot of teams were interested in signing him, but he didn't care about that anymore. Now, he was the most popular player in the entire country. When the Houston Rockets tried to contact him and offer him a contract, Marbury said, "I basically kept telling them I wasn't interested, and I really wasn't. That was not where my mind was. They had just talked about erecting a statue for me, and the last thing I was thinking about was playing back in the NBA." A couple months after he won the championship, a statue of Marbury was built right next to the Cadillac Arena, the same stadium where Beijing hosted the 2008 Olympics. Marbury's dominance was so clear that the CBA started to create new rules for foreign players. They revised the foreign player rule and limited the number of foreign players that each team could have. They also introduced a new award beginning in 2013, the CBA International MVP. Marbury was the first ever international MVP. As the popularity of Chinese basketball continued to grow, contracts became more lucrative, so more and more foreign players started to come over to play, all because of Marbury. The Beijing Ducks would also win the 2014 and 2015 championships, as Marbury won Finals MVP. By 2015, Marbury's popularity reached an all-time high. He even got a museum dedicated to him in Beijing. He also got honored by the Beijing government for his charity work and his commitment to the community. His signature Starberry shoes started to get more popular, and some are priced as low as $15, so most people could afford them without breaking the bank. He felt that guys like Jordan and LeBron charged way too much for their shoes, since it does not cost much to make them. So Marbury went in a different direction, selling shoes that even kids could afford. As Marbury continued to get older and his basketball career would inevitably end, one of the best moments of his life happened on October 14, 2016. The Houston Rockets and New Orleans Pelicans were scheduled to play a preseason game in China, in Beijing, the same arena that Marbury has played in for the last 5 years. At first, Marbury did not want anything to do with the NBA. The Rockets were coached by Mike D'Antoni as well, and they didn't get along back when he coached the Knicks. Initially, Marbury did not plan to attend the game. He said, "I wouldn't have gone on my own. I didn't know how I would be treated or how they would have acted toward me. I didn't know if I would feel awkward or they would feel awkward toward me." But after the NBA realized that Marbury was in town, they offered him and his managers tickets to the suite level to watch the game. Marbury felt uncomfortable accepting the offer, but after Adam Silver had a pre-game conference and talked about how much Marbury meant for the growth of basketball, he felt really touched. A couple of former NBA players were at the game as well, and afterwards, Adam Silver personally invited him to his office in New York. The reunion between him and the NBA went well, and although Marbury's priorities are in China, it meant a lot to him that they reached out. Anyway, by the end of 2017, Marbury would sign with the Beijing Fly Dragons. The 2017-18 season would be his last in the CBA. His team would miss the playoffs, so his final game was on February 11, 2018, just 9 days before his 41st birthday. In that season, he was slowing down and nowhere near his former self, but he still managed to put up 20 points. In this emotional final game, Marbury would lead his team to the win under a roaring crowd, and all of his teammates came out to support him. It was a great moment. The entire crowd cheered him on as they celebrated the retirement of the country's most legendary player of the last decade. The story of Stephon Marbury was quite an interesting one. We've never seen a former All-Star play over 10 years in the NBA and then take his talents overseas to reinvent themselves. In fact, after his NBA career was over, there was no way Marbury would have even been considered for the Basketball Hall of Fame. But because of his dominance in China and the incredible impact he had on the entire country and the growth of the sport, there's no question that he's getting into the Hall of Fame when he's eligible. While you could say that a lot of NBA players can just go to China and dominate, it's way more than that. Marbury became a national icon, the first foreign star to willingly come to China and make it his home. While many other NBA players have played incredibly well in China, nobody else embraced the culture and integrated himself into society like Marbury did. In fact, Marbury was even granted a special permanent residency card in China, a card that's usually only reserved for foreigners who are ethnically Chinese. but Marbury became the first non-Chinese foreigner to receive it. Near the end of his career, he showed his appreciation for the entire country, saying that, "To be told that you're a loser, that you can't win, and that you can't do this and you can't do that, then to come someplace without speaking the language with cultural barriers, to be able to accomplish that goal was beyond anything." Anyway, that's all folks, that sums up the story of Stephon Marbury. One of the greatest, most influential stories in basketball history. Thank you all so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.